Welcome back this week on today's episode. If you have not had the opportunity to listen to part one, I want to recommend that you go back and have the opportunity to listen to part one with our interview with Kathleen May. She is an author, she is a teacher, she is a mother. She is just all around a beautiful person and truly has the most amazing way to put perspectives and words in front of you that get you thinking and seeing things from just the other side to give you that balanced viewpoint of the situation that you might be going through. And we highly discuss about things like life under renovation and change. And today we are continuing on this topic and having the most beautiful conversation. Welcome back today again, and let's get to it.
Right? What if, and I love the word relationship. It's one of the things we talk about in my book is your relationship, and here's another fear one, your relationship with money.
Mm-hmm. It's
Right?
always a good one.
Yeah. And it's another one that attaches to fear. And that attaches back to change. And isn't it always one of the ones that stops us from engaging though? Like we talk about fear, but then change is always connected to what? When I moved down here, I had so many people who reached out and said, how did you do it? Why did you do it? I'm thinking that, and immediately they would slam the brakes on with, oh, I just can't do that because, like, they would have a reason. And I would say to them, if you want to, you can.
Mm-hmm.
You will find a way. There is always a way. It's just whether or not you choose to look for it. And it's the same with money, right? Like, what is your relationship with it? Not what other people think your relationship is with it. And is there fear of change? Because that's another transition that I think people struggle with, is that change in their financial position, be
Mm-hmm.
it good or bad, really. Any sort of change, we become so like that transition into that transition from what we become comfortable in to having more is actually a really scary transition.
Yeah. Does it mean that you have to be more, show up more? What is that going to
Judge more.
require of us? And then you look at yourself and go, am I enough for that?
Mhm.
So really, is it a self-worth concern?
Huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Am I responsible enough
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
that kind of, reward, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
or that piece? Like I wouldn't know what to do with it when I got it. Right? There's that. So are you not doing something because you have fear? Are you not taking on a change or a transition because you actually have fear of your success? Like we've talked about fear of failure, but what about the concept of having fear of success?
Yeah. They both play hand in hand. They really do. And it's an internal battle, I feel like. It
Yes,
really is.
yes.
If it's not one, it's the other.
Right? It's
Yeah.
it's so true. And you don't really think about it. I know even with education, I thought, I don't know, I just had this I didn't really maybe thought isn't right. Maybe I hadn't thought about it, but I just assumed that my family would be very proud of me getting more education. I was one of the first people in my family to get education. My ex-husband had a degree. I thought I becoming a teacher and having a degree would make me a better partner. I thought it was about me becoming more valuable. I also thought that while I had all these opinions and thoughts and inquiry about things, it didn't become justified until I had a degree in my mind.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
don't think that with other people. Like you need to know, I think probably some of the smartest people I know have never been to school. But I felt like it added value because I felt very much like people kind of just wrote off my thoughts. And I thought this gave me the confidence to have value behind my thoughts. But what I didn't realize is that there was some judgment around it, in my own family, where well, you think you're better than us now because you have a university
Mm.
degree. It was never ever something I thought about. And
Hmm.
and that change, that transition my change made them uncomfortable.
Mhm. Do you think maybe it
So
brought a light to what they could potentially do or wanted to do at some point, they just never did?
that, and will have those. Yes, I do. I also think we kind of have those people in our lives that took us to a certain place and maybe could never let us go past that. Like, I do believe for some of my family, I will always be 17-year-old Kathleen.
Mm.
That's just where they capped out. And, for some parts, that's a fun time, right? Like some parts of that connection to who I was at 17, okay.
Hmm.
But other parts, it's like I have so much more to share. I'm not that person anymore.
And I'm very careful actually
And
that
so,
sorry, that you mentioned that. It just brought some awareness to me. I'm very careful about how I raise my children
yes.
that, I'm I don't wanna say I'm not protective, but I'd rather use the word that I like to prepare my children. I'm raising young adults so
Mhm.
that they are ready to go off on their own instead of always viewing my baby.
And your anticipation of what they will be like, right?
Yeah,
You have to, our job as parents is to raise functioning adults in society
yeah,
and
yeah.
then transition, right? And then transition into still having value. And I'll tell you, that's a space I'm in. At 48, I have a house full of teenagers. And my primary job for the past 20 years, my biggest reason for getting up in the morning has been them. And my oldest has, flown the nest, for lack of a better term. And is my going back to school somewhat fueled about recreating a space that I feel valued in? Yeah, absolutely. We as women, you will experience, you can talk about motherhood as a transition and a room of change, right? I know, Stephanie, you can share about your feelings between being, a single person, becoming a married person, and then becoming a mom. And yes, on the other side of becoming a mom, it's awesome, but there is permission to miss a little bit of who that girl was before you were a mom,
Yes.
right? It's a change, it's a transition, it's a fear. How do I keep her and still become your mom? And then there's another transition, like, some of us will experience divorce, which is again a forced transition, a forced change, not one we necessarily, that's a change in our identity not all of us wanted,
Mhm.
but yet you change again. And then, and I don't know if men experience this the same or not, but certainly for women, we, in this space that we sit, you become, I've used the term before, invisible,
Mhm.
because my job as a mom is finished. I'm no longer, part of the reproductive
Mhm.
part of the population,
Mhm.
right? My body in itself is saying, you don't need to attract people anymore. Like, here's wrinkles and aging and menopause and weight gain and all these other awesome things. Like, you thought you could sleep and, no, you can't. Hormones are changing. And then my role as a mom is now, yes, I'm still their mother. And of course I'm still here for them, but I'm not is, I am right now, but I definitely see where these children in the next 5 to 10 years are completely independent of me. And
Mhm.
then where does my value sit?
Mm.
And that's a transition. These transitions and changes happen to us.
Yeah.
And
Which
we as women, just like rule, we have so many of them.
yeah,
We,
and I think just even bringing that about right now and knowing what's to come can help us better prepare for changes that are
Mhm.
coming. I think this is great that we're addressing this because even my
Yes.
state is very different. I'm in the very early stages of the little babies and all of that stuff.
Yes.
I'm very much in a different place than where you
You
are
are.
with the teenagers.
Yes.
And what comes after that, we always hear from other women, "Oh, wait till you hit menopause or wait till this." It's brought on like that, but really in this conversation, understanding what is to come and to be ready for transitions, it will allow the change to not be easier, but expected. I think a lot of times is the element of surprise with change, and what can bring on a lot of trauma can be sometimes things that are too much, too fast, too soon, right? And so change, I think, can
Yes.
happen a little bit more smoothly with the preparation. around it and having the conversations between us like this.
100%. And knowing that you aren't the only one feeling that way. And knowing that, like, I will tell you, I remember very clearly being, with all the toddlers everywhere and how busy it was and how great it was. And there's a lot of, there's a lot of change that you will be watching every single day in yourself as a mom, because as you go from infant to toddler, that's a transition. From,
Mhm.
toddler and they go to school, it's another transition. And then, your relationships all change as well. And there's all of that going on. I didn't really realize that, and menopause in itself isn't bad. Like it is what it is. And, there's lots to be talked about there, but I don't think it's not really that bad. I think you just need to keep your health is the
Mm.
biggest thing, right? And not allow it to become another place of fear or a reason why you don't invest in yourself, both with time, really. But also, I think the bigger piece of emotional health there is knowing you need to transition. We live much longer than we should, which is wonderful, right? But it's wonderful. But, I'm just going to be in my early to mid 50s as the children will leave. What am I going to do for the next 50 years? Because my grandmother's 99. So literally, I can do this all over again, right? But how do we embrace it and do it beautifully? So I looked at it and went, I want a law career. I want to go help more people. I want to go do some things, make some changes happen in education. And I'm at this point in fairly good health. And so, yeah, as my children start to go through high school and pick their universities, I'm in university so that I have a career to pour myself into. So I think though that's that looking at, the potential of change and really making sure you set yourself up in a place where you value yourself, because that I think is the struggle a lot of women have when they've been stay-at-home moms, or even a combination of working and mom, and the children start to have their own lives and they feel a little lost and a little like they don't have a value. And even we have to let society and media own this a little bit. I mean, look around and tell me how many companies are marketing to older women? How many companies, and I don't even like using the term older, but let's use it like,
Mhm.
50 and over. Where are single moms being marketed to?
Mm.
I have yet to see a company that does a car ad for a single mom.
Hmm. Yeah. When you really think
Not even a
about it.
McDonald's commercial that says, you know, she needs a break because she's working both ends, so she picks up McDonald's on the way home. There is zero advertisement or recognition, zero advertisement. And in fact, Chevy, I drove a Chevy truck, a dually, with my 4 children in tow and hauled horses back and forth. And I swore by that truck, Church of Chevy. And they interviewed me, and I was put in by the salesman to do an ad, and I was turned down.
Why?
They went another route.
Mm.
And the route they went had, hockey players and,
Mm.
but not single moms. Well, and in fairness, in marketing, I guess maybe they would say most single moms can't afford a truck. That's not really fair.
Mhm.
But that's a transition, right? To being a single mom. It's not a
Mhm.
relationship status. It's a transition. And it's one where, did you choose that one? No, probably not. But there's a lot of us out there. And we constantly have that microaggression that goes around. And that's a change of mindset and a fear piece, right?
Mm.
No one wants to be a single mom,
Mhm. Mhm.
but it is a space that you get comfortable in and you find empowerment, and there's pluses to it and negatives, I guess. There are definitely. I hope that you always have a partner to parent with, because single parenting is, and not from more from just perspective of, I think what as single moms we miss the most is the conversation with that person around, you will know, and you parent in the moment, sometimes on the fly, right? It
Mhm.
comes at you and you like make a quick decision about, how you're going to strategize this big moment in your child's life as you decide the results of their actions for something, whatever it may be. And having that feedback from a partner that says, yeah, we did that right. Like, yeah. And, you may be sharing that doubt. That is probably the biggest piece that I think is missing from
Hmm.
from
Yeah,
that role.
I could see that.
Mhm.
And I could understand that for sure. You don't realize it when you have somebody that you're always,
Right?
there with. Yeah. Yeah, I could see
Yes.
that for sure.
Yes.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah. Good.
I want you to define something. I feel like
Mm.
you have done just such an excellent job of defining this word already during this conversation. But what does be bold mean to you?
Be bold. So I think what be bold means to me, I won't speak, I won't use we, but you might understand this. I have always believed that kindness looked like compromise.
Mm.
So in everything, I have this concept of do all things in kindness. However, most recently, I had to learn to start asking for what I need as kindness to me. And that was fear. There was fear, there was transition and change, right? But it meant being brave and bold, I think.
Absolutely.
So I think that what we need to do sometimes is recognize that sometimes the kindness has to be for yourself. And that's in as little of a thing as clarifying, like I'll give you the example. I recently started an internship. And before I was one of these people that would be like, I'm just so happy to have an internship. I don't care what you pay me. I don't care what the hours are. I don't care what the training is. Right? I'm just so happy to be here. And I am. I'll tell you what, I feel so fortunate to have this. And it happened so easily. And it's such a great experience. But in living with my, 2022 awareness of asking for what I need and being bold, I did. I said, I'm going to need to understand these things. And I have these expectations. And, I've done some similar soul searching in some relationships. Said, I'm going to be brave. And while I know this is a compromise that works better for maybe other people, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Right?
I think as women, it's one of the hardest things to do to serve yourself because
Com-
we've been
yes.
conditioned. Yeah.
Compromise is not kindness.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful. Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness. Like I just have never realized that, but you are
And
so right.
I will tell you, afterwards, I was driving home, and I kind of had a week of that, like asking for what I needed. And
Mm,
no one got greatly offended at me. In fact,
mm,
they were probably more respected. I think I actually felt more respected.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, you would. Yes. And
Right?
I've noticed that through boundaries and setting things for
Yes.
myself. It's the hardest
Yes.
thing to do, but once you do it, the world will follow. Everyone will
Well,
listen and it's
there was
not mean.
there was no justifying either. Do you
Mm,
know when you compromise and it works better for someone else, but then you spend days justifying to yourself why that was the right thing to do because it was, a smoother transition. It was better for them. I'll deal with those details later. All those things we tell ourselves.
mhm.
I drove home feeling so proud that I had not, compromised. And yet everyone seemed to be more respectful. And I felt better. I felt proud of myself, right?
Yeah.
Like, right, this is the Kathleen who asks for what she needs.
Mhm.
So, that in itself is a piece of change and transition, right?
Yeah.
It's a part of a renovation. So, how do you build this big, beautiful life? You have to constantly be prepared to renovate without judgment, there's no failure in that.
So listen, I really enjoyed spending these moments with you today, and I hope you did too. My gratitude is through the roof. But in order for us to make even more magic in this world, we've got to spend more time together. Make it your focus to connect consistently so you can continue to gain and change up your days to come. Secondly, we are a direct result of who we hang around with, and now you're in the world of becoming better. By sharing this episode, you are making an impact in someone's life, and frankly, we're just better together. And don't forget to tag me so I can send some love and shout outs back, my friend. Until next time, this is your host, Steph, on Be Bold.